guest is today Dean Saunders. Dean, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Let me ask you first about your family tradition. Your father was a professional footballer. You are a very, very disciplined player. Your son plays as well as a footballer. Who did you introduce to the football? Was that your father?
Yes, my father played for Liverpool for 12 years. My father got transferred. He was at Hull City when he was really young, and then he got transferred to Liverpool, and then he went from Liverpool to Swansea City, and he met my mother in Swansea and stayed there all his life. So I was born in Swansea, and my dad was a footballer. So he was the coach at Swansea. So in the school holidays, I used to go down to the training and hang around the players, and I used to go and watch all the games. So I always wanted to be a footballer.
Let me ask you about after Derby. Why didn't you sign with Everton or Forest?
Robert Maxwell was struggling financially, I think, and he put me up for sale, me and Mark Wright. So it was like, all bids. It was like a bidding war, like an auction. And I think Nottingham Forest made a bid for me, 2.9 million. Everton made a bid, 2.9 million. But Graham Souness was manager of Liverpool. He phoned me and said, make sure you tell me before you sign for anybody else. Give me the chance to make you an offer. So Liverpool at the time were the best team. That there was Ian Rush, John Barnes, Steve Nicol, Jan Molby, Bruce Grobbelaar. The team was full of stars. My dad played for Liverpool for 12 years, so I was brought up on my dad. In the 50s, my dad played with Billy Liddell, Ronnie Moran, Bob Paisley, Jeff Twentyman. He played for Liverpool in that era. So all the newspapers I used to read in the house, and my dad had in a bag. So I thought, if I got a chance to go anywhere, I'm going to sign for Liverpool. I wanted to sign for Liverpool.
Did you meet Graham Souness face to face?
Yeah, I met all the managers. I met Howard Wilkinson United. I met Brian Clough. I met Howard Wilkinson. I spoke to Alex Ferguson, Manchester, and then I met Graham Souness in London in his house in Surrey, I think it was, on the outskirts, and we spoke for about 10 minutes, and we agreed a contract in about 10 minutes. So, I also owe Graham Souness a lot. Graham Souness is a brilliant manager, and he signed me at Liverpool. He signed me at Galatasaray, and he signed me at Benfica, and then he took me as assistant manager to Blackburn and Newcastle.
Yeah, I know.
So I've been with Graham a long time in my career, and I owe Graham a lot. And Graham, obviously, I was at Derby, where Arthur Cox has sort of given me all that information and structure to my game. And then Graham Souness sort of said, nobody cares about finishing second. Nobody cares about anybody else in football. Only the team wins. Nobody cares. So he said, I don't care who you've played for in the past. Nobody cares about them. But Liverpool, everybody cares about Liverpool. Everybody watches the results. Everybody cares if they win the European Cup or the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
So you play, and we got to win. And we got to win every game, home and away. So you're coming into a different world, and this club is a winning machine, and you're going to be part of it. So just do your piece. Do your piece. Simply do your piece. and all the little cogs in the big wheel, or you're a little cog, or everyone's a little cog. It makes the big wheel turn. So all you've got to do is do what you've been doing. Don't try and do anything stupid, or don't try and do anything silly. Just do your job. And we've got to win games, and we've got to win trophies. And that's Graham's mentality. If he took over any business or any football team, or it'd have to be the best business, or the best team, or the best bar, or the best restaurant. He's got to win. And that's what rubs off on you about Graham Souness. He's a winner. If you don't want to win as much as him, can't understand it.
Yeah, I read his autobiography. Yeah, I get it. Let me ask you about your single season at Liverpool. In January, you were third in the league, but in the last 6 or 5 weeks, you were leapfrogged by City, Arsenal, etc., and you were on the 6th. What happened at the end of the season?
You know, I can't remember. We won the FA Cup, which is the best thing I've ever won as a player. Of everything I've done in my career, winning the FA Cup, because in England, that is, everybody watches the FA Cup. Everybody, because every team can play in it. Like the pub teams can play in it, Sunday league teams play in it, and they qualify, and then you play the final at Wembley. And I always dreamed, imagine playing in the FA Cup final. It's the best day of the year. We couldn't wait, and it was the first thing I ever won. I hadn't won anything. I had nothing to show for the goals I scored, and I was 26, I think, and I still hadn't got a medal. So to win the FA Cup with Liverpool and see all the fans at Wembley, and the build up to it as well, it was a long road to get there. That was the first thing and the best thing I'd done in my career. But
you signed with Galatasaray in '95. Was that Adnan Polat who convinced you to come to Istanbul?
Yeah, him and Graham Souness. Yeah. I have to say, my wife was 7 months pregnant with Callum, my son, who was born in the international hospital.
I know, yeah.
So he's 24 now. Gone quick. I had clauses in my contract at Aston Villa that buyout clauses. If a foreign team, a team from abroad, I always wanted to have a go at playing abroad. So it was like 2.5 million, 2 million, 1.5 million over 3 years. And Galatasaray made the offer at 1.5 million to buy me out of my contract. So Graham Souness, who obviously sold me from Liverpool, and I went to Galatasaray and I loved it. Yeah, and I think it was the first time as well I seen Graham Souness actually coaching the team. He was at Liverpool, he was the manager, and he used to do a bit of coaching, but Ronnie Moran and Roy Evans used to take training. But when Graham went to Galatasaray, he had Ahmed as an interpreter. And I mean, Ahmed was a great character. He was a great character, Ahmed. He was like the police. He was like the disciplined police. Everyone was scared of Ahmed. I remember he said to me, Dean, you must stop kicking all the balls everywhere after training. Because I used to stay out on the training pitch for hours, kicking, practicing. And he says, Dean, stop, at Florida, the training pitch, there was only one pitch. You know, the ball used to go over the fence, over the trees, and the ball was gone. You never see the ball again. But the balls used to go, and he used to shout, "Dean, stop. Come on, stop kicking the balls. Stop kicking the balls everywhere." He said, "The balls are going over the fence all the time." I said, "Yeah, sorry, Ahmed, sorry." The next day, this ball come to me on the training pitch. I smashed the ball, and it went straight through the window of the training ground.
Yeah.
And I could see it. I could see the ball going into Adnan Seskin's office. I could see the ball going into the window. And I thought, oh no. And it went straight through the window. And the first thing I thought was, oh no. You know what I'm talking about.
You smashed the glass. Window glass.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea about Turkish football before getting into Istanbul?
Yeah, I had an idea. Yeah, I knew the teams because, I studied all football leagues and everything. I had an idea, but, I can remember lots and lots. Our team that we had was, I don't know what you think, but the team that we had was probably one of the best teams that Galatasaray have ever had. The best group of players. And the reason I say that is when I watched the Euro Championships in England, most of the Galatasaray players that I played with were in that team, in the national team. Apart from, who was the number 10 at Beşiktaş?
Sergen.
Alpay played, but Okan. Our team was Brad Friedel was in goals. Iro, Hakan right back, Bülent, Van Gobel, Ufuk,
Yeah.
Ufuk, Suat, Tugay, Arif, Turkmaz, Kubilay,
Yeah.
and then it was Safet, Hakan Suga, and me. We had it was a good team, and Mert, Van Gobel, and Bülent were the centre backs.
Yeah. Ergun also. Ergun, no?
Ergun played left back. Yes, he was a good player as well. So we had some really good players, and Tugay was the best. Tugay was the best player.
You played with Tugay, Bülent, Hakan Şükür, Hakan Ünsal, Arif, Okan Ergun, and in nucleus of young player. They won the UEFA Cup in year 2000, and they all played a part in Turkey's rise to World Cup semi-final in 2002. Did you foresee at that time they would go on to conquer something in international scene?
And I've always thought this. The reason why Turkey done so well in the Euro Championships and Galatasaray won the UEFA Cup, and then in the World Cup they done so well, is because there were only 3 foreign players allowed to play at one time. So you imagine if there was 6 or 7 or there was no limit on the foreign players, maybe Küçük Hakan, maybe Okan, they wouldn't have played for Galatasaray. Maybe they would have been loaned out to Istanbulspor or somewhere else. But because you were only allowed 3 foreign players, which was, to start with, it was me, Barry Venison, Mike Marsh. The rest of the team was made up of Galatasaray players who all come through the same youth team, and they're all together as a group. And that wouldn't have happened if there were more foreign players allowed to come to Galatasaray. So the balance of adding the quality from that the foreign players bring to making sure your young talent play at the highest level is like
the balance.
The balance, yeah. So I remember coming back from watching Hagi and Popescu and Adrian Ilye playing in that team.
Yeah, you're right.
That went to the UEFA Cup. So I think the way Galatasaray had it, and in Turkey with the 3 foreign players, it helped keep all them players together, and they went right through. And then obviously Hadji, Popescu, and Adrian Ilié come in and made them even better as they got older. And they put Turkish football's now gone from there to there. Everybody knows. In England, everybody knows who Fenerbahce, Beşiktaş, Galatasaray are. Everyone.
Do you know the current rules in Turkish league?
No.
Yeah. 14 foreign players are now allowed to play in Turkish league. 14.
14. So in the squad or in the actual squad, or
yeah, you can field 11 foreign players in starting 11, then
right.
three subs plus 3 subs as foreign player.
There's obviously reasons why that's happened, but how can that be good for your national team and the young talent that you are, the 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, youth team players, under 21 players, how can they develop? They can't. The national team will suffer, and the amount of Turkish footballers coming out of Turkey world-class players will suffer. Well, you'll see. I mean, if you think probably people that haven't thought back, and I'm saying it because I was there, and I've always thought of it since I come back to England, and I've always thought that one of the reasons Galatasaray, Fenerbahce had success is because they had the restriction on the amount of foreigners that come into the country, and they were able to keep their best young players were playing. Kachuk Hakan is an example. He would never have played. He wouldn't have. But he got the chance to play, and he got the chance to make mistakes, and he got the chance to develop because we didn't have another left back. We didn't have. Oh, he was the left back. He was the next in line. Hakan was the same. If Graham Souness had money to spend, he would have probably got a right back and a left back from England or somewhere, and them 2 players would never have developed. I think that's one of the main reasons. I'm
reminding you your best 11: Salatoğlu, Nicole, McGrath, Wright, Stanton, Giggs, Tugay, Mulby, Barnes, Hughes, and Rush. Why did you put Tugay in your best 11 you played with?
Well, he's a great player. He was underrated. Underrated in it. And I think, I'm not sure, I think Mark Hughes put him in his best team. Imagine the amount of good players that Mark Hughes played with at Man United.
Yeah.
I put Tugay in his best team, but because number one, he was a master of the ball. The ball was like, he could do anything with the ball, and his football brain was top notch, and his passing. If I made the correct run, the ball would drop over my shoulder. So yeah, and if I made the right run, and I just had to get on the same wavelength as him. We just used to look at each other. I used to just look him in the eye, and he knew what I was going to do, and I knew where to run, and he put the ball in for me. And then when I coached him and watched him every day training, I was more impressed with him. He was brilliant for Blackburn. If you ask any Blackburn fans to put their best team down, Tugay's in it. And then Tugay went back as coach, but I was coach of Blackburn when Two Guy was there. And Two Guy, the only reason he was at Blackburn was because of Graham Souness. Could have played for any of the teams in the top 6. He was that good. So, you know, the best players in the world is there. The best players, and that'll never change. You know, the first 2 yards, the first 2 meters are in there, and otherwise, you could play Usain Bolt could play centre forward for Man United. The reason he can't is because his football brain is not as good as his legs. It's not as quick as his legs. So, you know, like Two Guy wasn't quick, but Two Guy's brain was. We had Gary Flitcroft playing for Blackburn, and Gary Flitcroft and Two Guy. Gary Flitcroft was as honest a player as you could manage. Midfield player, fit, get around the pitch, tackling, getting up, heading it, passing it forward, and he would make tackles. He'd make 20 tackles every game, and Two Guy would make 1 tackle, but he always had the ball. He was already there, if you know what I mean. Instead of having to make a tackle, Two Guy in his head was 2 steps quicker than everybody. So when the ball dropped, Two Guy was there. Whereas Gary would get there the same time as the opposition player, and they'd have a tackle. But Two Guy's brain would get the ball. So he always had the ball. You couldn't stop him getting the ball because he could read the game. He was steps ahead.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so the top players are they see a different picture to the average players.
And let me ask you about that famous cup final. You scored a memorable goal. Do you remember that game?
Yes, yeah. Actually, nobody mentions the goal, and nobody mentions the penalty in the first game, and no one mentions the first game. Everyone remembers that game for Graham Souness sticking that flag in the ground. That's what that game's remembered for. But we had a couple of close shaves, I think, in the quarter-final and the semi-finals. And then we played at Ali Sami Yen, first game. We won 1-0 penalty. And it was a bad penalty. I took the penalty. But it went under the goalkeeper's arms. I remember thinking, oh, no. When the ball left my foot, I thought, no, he saved it. But it went under him somehow. So we were 1-0 up, going to Fenerbahce, and the Croatian striker scored. Can't remember his name.
No, I could score.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I could. Yeah. What was the goalkeeper's name now? Fenerbahce.
Rüştü.
Rushdie, yeah. I remember it was a tight game. Tight game.
Very tight.
Big atmosphere. They had the Danish, is it Hawk? Danish centre-back.
Yeah. Yes, Hulk, yeah.
Hawk, yeah. He used to take a chance with the ball. And I used to think, I'll get something out of him. I'll get something. If I keep pressuring him, I'll force a mistake out of him somehow. But I couldn't get, like, in the game, it was that tense. The atmosphere was that, like, everyone was frightened to lose the game. And then it went to extra time. As Arthur Cox told me, keep going and you'll get a chance at the end of the game. We broke down the left, and I think, who crossed it? Was it?
Ilyas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ilyas, yeah. Ilyas crossed. It was a great cross. And I remember watching him, and I was thinking, if I just hold back and the ball got cut behind the first line of defence, it got cut back and it was bouncing. I was watching it. I was thinking, just keep it down. Don't lift it. And I struck it perfect as it come across me. I struck it, and it sort of sliced up into the top right hand corner. And sometimes they go over the crossbar, sometimes they go back out that way. I just happened to connect perfect with it. And I remember thinking, when we run off, we've won the game. And everybody jumped on me. Was it 100? I think it was 118 minutes. There was no time up.
116.
116 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
Then and we won, right? And our supporters were over that side of the pitch. We went over to celebrate with our supporters, and somebody threw the flag, big flag, over the fence, and Graham Souness picked the flag up, and he ran into the centre circle, and he started to stick this flag. Here's Callum now. Come here, get in the picture. Hello, there he is, the Turkish. Turkish.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, born in Istanbul. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So he didn't know Turkey or for Wales.
Yeah. Does it stay with you at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying about the cup final.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, Carl.
But what did you think when he planted the flag on center circle?
Well, I said good luck to him. What had happened when Graham got the manager's job? I think one of the directors of Fenerbahce said, "Why have they employed a cripple as a manager?" Because Graham had a heart bypass operation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And he remembered. And that's, I think, the reason why he stuck the flag in the ground. But when you think about it, it was bad enough that we'd won in the 116th minute, and then to stick the flag in the ground was just rubbing salt in the wound. I lived in the same apartment block as Graham in Nettila, and we had 24-hour security after that. The funny thing was, when we went into the dressing room and we were celebrating, there was people shaking champagne. There was champagne going everywhere. When I walked in, after the game, everyone was jumping. All the lads were jumping. And I looked round, and my mother and father were sat in the dressing room. So they'd come over to watch the game, and somehow my father had got in the dressing room. He was in. So he must have said, "I'm Saunders' dad. I'm Saunders' dad. I'm Saunders' dad," and they let him in. So that was good for my mum and dad, seeing the game, and they must have loved it. At the time, you don't think like that as a player, but now when I look back, when I go and watch my boy play, they must have loved watching me play in that game. I've been different places, but Turkish people are very open and friendly people, and everybody was nice to me when I went there, and even the Fenerbahce fans were nice to me, and Trabzon. So I really enjoyed it there. I loved it there, and maybe one day I'll come back out there and coach one of the teams out there.
Why not?
The opportunity comes up, I will. I'd love to.
Dishes you like most?
Well, when I first got there, I remember thinking I couldn't believe all the baklava. All the baklava and all the cake.
Yeah.
All the shops, all the shops, the cake shops. We used to walk past the shops and stand there. We used to stand there for 10 minutes. Looking at all the cakes, which one we have. Obviously, I couldn't eat lots of cakes, but my favorite dessert now is baklava.
Really?
Yeah, I have it every chance I get.
Other than that, döner or else, what did you like as a Turkish dish?
Well, I like all the lamb dishes.
Lamb
which-
dishes.
Yeah, I just liked when I first got there. Everything was strange for me, really different, and like that's why I'm a lot to go there as just not as a footballer, but just as a person to go and live in Istanbul. At that time, my eyes opened. I didn't expect some of the things. I mean, some of the players were eating for a pre-match meal. I remember like a pepper. It was like a pepper it was stuffed. Inside was like rice.
Yeah.
We're eating it for pre-match meal. And I was thinking, how can you eat that?
Do you have favorite players in England and in Europe?
I like Lewandowski's
Mm-hmm.
class act. He's just a predator. Scores all types of goals. Hungry. So I like Lewandowski. I like Gareth Bale.
Bale.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be his coach at one. He's like a Rolls Royce, Bale. Class. I like De Bruyne. I like Aguero. I think Van Dijk's a great defender. I actually like one of my favourite players is injured at the moment, nearly fit. Sane. He's
Leroy Sané.
yeah. Sane. Man City have got some good players, haven't they? Man City. Jesus is a good player. Liverpool's front three. Firmino, brilliant touch and vision, and Link knows when to lay the ball side where he knows where everyone is when the ball comes to him. Salah, unstoppable at times. Mane, unstoppable. Who else we got? I like Hazard. If I was going to say my favourite player, I'd say Lewandowski at the moment. Yeah, he's a great goal scorer. You sign him, you know what you're going to get. Guaranteed he'll get you over 20 goals.
Maybe more. Just like this season, yeah.
Yeah, but he's 31. He's 31. If you wanted to buy him, unless he gets injured, he will guarantee he's going to score 20, 25 goals, guaranteed. 15 of them goals are 3 points. They win the game. 3 points, 3 points. So I don't think there's not many players out there that you can sign that, and it's not a gamble. I don't think it's a gamble if you sign him. Whatever you pay for him, it's worth it.
Dean Saunders, thank you very much for talking to us. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Very, very nice to speak to you. Thanks very much. And I hope everybody's well in Turkey. And one day I'll be back.
Thank you.